Welcome to Qigong Academy podcast. Today we talk about the nature of healing. So, you brought up the topic, John. What do you mean about the nature of healing?
Um, it's kind of one of those bits that keeps coming up for me. I think that the concept of healing is something that isn't particularly well understood, and I think that a lot of people get into Qigong for healing. But I think that there's all kinds of questions that come up here for me. So, for example, if you come in order to get healing from a particular situation and it gets healed, what do you do then? Um,
You're
you know,
healed,
it's
and then you're healthy, and you're happy.
yeah, and then you bugger off and carry on. You know,
Yeah. And then sometime, maybe the worst case, you go again into Qigong world and say, "I searched for healing."
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's stories from the Khawaja Center, the videos of the tumors shrinking. Well,
Hmm.
the what are they? They're the ultrasounds of the tumors getting
Hmm.
smaller that have kind of been quoted left, right, and center. And when you speak to people who were at the center at the time, what you find is that quite often they're saying, "Yeah, but that particular person, they got rid of the tumor, but then the tumor, okay, the person." Well, the phrase that was used is they returned to their colorful lifestyle and the tumor came back and they died. I'm kind of endlessly curious what a colorful lifestyle is in that scenario. But but the point is that it wasn't a healing. It was a removal of a symptom. It
Yeah,
was a
okay, that
removal
makes
of a
sense.
tumor. And then the thing that the underlying thing that caused it to grow was still present, and the roots were obviously very deep, and so it came back more rigorously. So that isn't actually healing, that's suppression of symptom.
It's like
That,
taking a pill for, or like a painkiller.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like a haircut. It's
Like
like,
a haircut?
no, no, that's a really crap analogy, isn't it? I was going to say the hair's going to carry on growing. Well, mine does. It's just, yeah. Um,
Ah, right. Okay, fair enough.
but no, sorry, please ignore me. Crap analogy. But the idea is that healing? Is removal of symptom a healing? And my sense is no, it isn't. Um, but you can
Parts
also
of it,
see
maybe.
it's absolutely part of that, but that's not really what it's about. But most people will come into Qigong because there is something specific that they want to address within their lives. There's something specific that they want to work with. So they're looking for quite a specific healing. And then once the tumor's gone, once the problem or the symptom that they arrived with has disappeared, once the headache's cleared, what happens then? Does the healing stop?
Good
I
question. Is it an ongoing process, or is it an ongoing process to getting ill again?
I think that's my sense is that it's all part of a cycle of things. It's all part of a process. Um, but yeah, I like the idea of if we use the term healing, what we should actually be doing is defining healing as a return to health. So in that scenario, then we have to go, right, what do we mean by health? Because health we can look at on a physical basis. So, if you have something that isn't working physically, it's very easy to go, oh, I'm healed once the physical healing is done. But what about the mental aspect of it? What about the mental health side of it? What about the emotional health side of it? What about the healthy relationships with self and other? What about the relationship to the environment? What about all of these? All of these are part of this web that is necessary to sort of unravel if we want to appreciate a truly balanced state of health. So therefore, healing should be a return to health, but it isn't just physical health. It should be emotional health, mental health, healthy relationships. It should be all of this. But it gets polarized into very specific areas.
Yeah, like the Western medicine, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. What is your approach, or how would you describe in detail? You mentioned the areas, but how would you say is the nature of healing in a kind of approach how you can self-heal yourself every day, kind of.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that we need to, if we change the framing of healing, so it's not removal of symptom, because that is kind of a backward focus. You're going to check how far you've gone by seeing how far away you are from the thing that you're looking at,
It's like
which means,
going for a sprint on a sports event and seeing how far you ran already, but not
yeah,
the distance between the goal and yourself, right? Is that
that's it. Yeah,
analogy
yeah.
as well as crap as yours?
No, I think that's a perfect analogy. It's the sprinter who's not looking at the finish line. They're looking back at the starting line and hoping they get to the finish line. It's kind of stupid. Um, so yeah, I think we need to maintain that forward vision, and we need to recognize that every day, everything is changing, everything is evolving, everything is moving every single day. So therefore, if you come in with the same intention to overcome the same problem every single day, the one thing that is consistent is the problem that you're having a fight with. Now, that's not healing, that's having a fight with a problem.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we then need to go, right, how do I do that? I like the idea that a nice way to work with that is that you can actually come from a point of awareness. You can notice how things feel on a given day. So the symptom, the physical discomfort, the mental anguish, the emotional upheaval, whatever it is that you're noticing on that day, isn't actually the thing that you need to get rid of. That's like the doorway you can walk through to see what's behind it. We shouldn't ignore the symptom. We've got to start somewhere. It is the start line of the race
Mm.
for to try to weave it back into that analogy. Not sure this will work. Um, it's the start point. We need that start point, but actually, we also need to recognize that we need to move away from the start point, not with the intention of looking back at it, but with the intention of moving forward. So, the symptom is the experience that we actually start to work with that we can then move on from.
Okay, when you experience the symptom, is it then like the red flag you've overseen all the time till you reach the yeah, the state of the red flag that you see it right now? Or is it hanging there directly in front of your eyes? Or is it was it earlier at that, I would say, sprint visible for you? And can you train the way that or the awareness that you see it earlier in your life? That the symptom don't come up so strong, maybe.
Well, this is making me think of something, and I'm not sure it's the answer to the question. So please tell me if I've dragged this away somewhere. Um, my relationship with Qigong has never been about self-healing. That's never been my primary experience of it. So when I was going into the self-healing work, it felt slightly weird because it was like, oh, I've got to try to find something that doesn't work. So therefore, what I'm looking for is if you kind of scale discomfort on a scale of 1 to 10, I was always looking for the eights and the nines. Which part of me is like dysfunctional at an eight or a nine? Because I was looking for the difficulty, when actually the ones and the twos are just as relevant. And it doesn't need to be something that has been there all week. It could be that just in that scenario, you can feel yourself getting frustrated about something, or you can feel as you're sitting, there's a part of you that just doesn't quite feel right. It doesn't feel relaxed. These can also just be symptoms, because the symptom, and this kind of sits really in the relational health side of things. Um, we tend to look inside in isolation. But actually, if being within a group of people, either online or in person, means that it raises things for you, you notice things that feel different, then that is also a symptom that you can work with.
Hmm.
So, if you're at that amazing conference and there's a person up on stage who you're just sitting there going, oh, this is crap. That's a symptom. You can work with it. Um, or you can feed the symptom and you can come out of the conference and moan about how crap that particular person was. But actually, that's your judgment and that's your thing that you could have worked with.
Mm, yeah, yeah, true. True.
So, yeah, it doesn't need to be a big overblown experience or, suddenly growing a third leg or your arm falling off or, it doesn't need to be dramatic.
Yeah, I
It
know
can,
what you mean. When do you related to that, I would say, when do you um or is even there a difference between that is your or apart from you, or is that apart from another person? Like projecting emotions or something. When do you feel that's yours or not yours?
oh, oh, um, okay, this one, there are a few answers to me that sit within it. I think every every reaction we have is in relation to. So it could be in relation to our narrative about ourselves or our belief about another person or our concept of what polite behavior could be or what acceptable conduct is. Everything is always in relation to something. Now, the only thing we actually have control over is ourselves. Um, but our response is always in relation to. So,
So if you're the person who's projecting and saying to person B, I would say A, B, person B something, and person B doesn't say anything, but the feelings and the energy which is there is just the relation to the saying from person A, right? So both persons are just experience in their narrative fed world with their believings and their yeah overall feelings and so on. Um, yeah, they're worlds, but it's just always the relation to, so you can't not communicate, kind of.
yeah, um, I think you could say it's the difference between having an argument and a conversation. Um,
Right.
you've got two parties who aren't listening to each other, who are just shouting at each other. And it's not going to get any better because all they're doing is shouting at each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's the I'm not going to accept your negative energy. I don't hang around with people who bring me down. Um, Actually, the person isn't bringing you down. You are giving that it's something that you're doing for yourself in that relationship.
Yeah, okay. You bring yourself down through your
Now,
narrative in relation to an interaction with the person.
yeah. Now it could be that that particular conversation is just too much for you at the moment, so therefore you need to step away from it because there's too much stuff going on in there
But
for you to unpack.
that is also a symptom, right? And you can immediately react in the phrase of self-love to give yourself a little bit of space and go for your own.
Yeah, absolutely. You can step away, and step away is not a problem. But to block out is to ignore the potential learning. To go, at the moment, I can't really engage with this in a positive way, so therefore I'm not going to engage in it in a positive way, is completely fair. But to block out is to ignore the potential for learning that exists in that situation.
Which is the same like your heart stressed out and you're tired as hell, but you drink, a, I don't know, a liter of coffee to push on.
Yeah,
Basically the same, right?
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's kind of understanding when it's healthy to continue. It's kind of weird to say choose your battles.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just not worth having that happen. And sometimes there'll be something that happens. I had a scenario recently where it was just driving locally and something happened where my sense is the other person was being hugely unreasonable because they stopped in the middle of the road. I live in a little country lane. They stopped in the middle of the road and started shouting at me for driving too fast when I'd actually stopped. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. And it felt like really aggressive. Um, and I, you know, for some reason that's still hanging around with me.
Oh,
Uh,
wow, interesting.
I couldn't I couldn't fully move on. In the moment I was able to actually deal with it in a way that we had an exchange and then I made sure it didn't escalate and I drove off. But there's still something there for me. I'd kind of like to meet the person again so that I can resolve it.
To have a coffee with the person and talk about why have you done
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. And I think for everybody there will be these things that are just a bit too much,
Yeah,
and that's fine. But then if you also come back to the idea of is it an argument or a discussion? When it's a discussion, you give space to actually listen to the other person. We come straight back into Covey's seven habits, listen with the intent to understand.
yeah,
Um, and then that also, there's a piece in the eight phrases, Huai, Jing, Nei, Jing, respectful of the outside, quieter on the inside. To me, this speaks of no judgment.
mm,
And yet, we see the stuff out there within the Qigong communities that they are so heavily laden with judgment of, oh, we need to stop this, we need to create peace here, we need to do that, we need to do the other. This is not the nature of the practice. This is an imposition of your perception of what a good result would be. You're not taking time to listen to the situation. What you're doing is you're imposing your chi on a situation. And
right.
I'm not convinced.
I have another comparison or even analogy. Is it the same like going into this kind of Silicon Valley, optimize your day morning routine at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then going for exercise, going da 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 da, da, but still being in your, I don't know, yeah, daily life where you just get stressed out all the time, but you're optimizing your, yeah, hyped morning session that you have a kind of um excuse that you can run in your hamster wheel.
Yeah, I think I think that there is this. I mean, we talk a bit about roles, and I think that quite a lot of the qigong that we do will reinforce a particular role that we perceive that we have. So, that is exactly that. I need to produce this much content. I need to do this much work. I need to achieve these goals.
Mm.
Um, this is something that you can do with qigong, but is that qigong free and transformative? No, it isn't. It's holding you in a position that you feel you need to be in, and there are positions that it's fine to be in. So yeah, this is also one of the bits that I think it's a practice that is laden with a sense of where you want to get, as opposed to the curiosity and lightness that I think is truly transformative within the practice.
Hmm. Hmm. What do you would say when people want to start to go into the way of self-healing? What would you recommend as the first three bits to do?
Oh, okay. I I think one of the things that we need to observe is that when we come into a Qigong practice, when we're in that practice space, when we're sharing practice with others, um, we have an experience there. And that experience, that space that we enter is a space that is always available to us.
Also, when you're not into Qigong, when you're in your daily life as well, right?
Yeah, but in daily life, it'll be rare that you experience that space. So you come into a Qigong class and you experience that state and you're going, oh, this is different. I haven't
Mm.
experienced this before. So
Literally.
it means that instead of being in the normal over here hustle and bustle of daily life, we're now in a different, I'm going to say headspace, but I don't like the term headspace because it's not head, it's the entire being. And what that does is it gives us the ability to know that we don't need to be stuck in these places. So the first thing that I think is really helpful on that transformational or healing journey is to experience what it's like to not have that busyness, not have all of that noise, to see what it's like to actually be in that very relaxed, very supported state. And doing that with other people means that you are held in that state, and it's a beautiful space to be in. Doing it by yourself is just like, oh, it can be a bit much. But doing that with a group of people means that you can just get a sense of the interconnectedness of the ease that exists. And then once you've achieved that in that space, then the question is, how can I find more of that in my daily life? Because the issues that tend to manifest in difficulties, in blockages, the answers to me, you can possibly find them in practice, but actually you're more likely to spot it by applying the practice back into daily life. So that's the final stage. So if there were three things, the first thing is explore that space in a held area. The second one is become curious. Stop holding on to things so tightly. Hold them lightly and look at them and go, oh, okay. And then the third piece is take that curiosity, take that lightness of holding and apply it back into your everyday life. You can carry on doing all the things you ever wanted to do, but they no longer control you. You control them.
Yeah, okay, that's resonates. It's like the space in your daily life for myself is like you've told me, listen to the birds and do the birds listen to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I experience at my side or with myself, like, do they listen to me? Can they read my mind? Am I loud right now? Something like that. And then you're in a complete different way of observing that, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And they're always aware of you.
Oh.
They're they're
Yeah.
always they're always watching.
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Oh, that became dark all of a sudden, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, but that's an interesting thing. What you would or what do you would recommend as maybe a one step for non-Qigongler person?
Okay, if you've never practiced Qigong before, there's kind of a shape that happens within a Qigong practice. And so the first thing to do is be able to start that shape. And the first step is relax body, relax mind. Um,
If
unless we
people
take,
do sports to
well,
reduce cortisol.
it's an interesting one in sports because I've worked with quite a few sports people who will turn around and say, I can't meditate. And then you say, but what do you think, what's your mind doing when you're training? And the answer tends to be, oh, if I'm out on the bike or if I'm out for a run, it's kind of nothing.
Not
So,
like run, 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 run.
well, yeah, it depends. I guess that if you're doing sprints, then, you're
Yeah.
quite focused. But, um, I think there is an ability for the mind to relax even when the body isn't.
Mm.
And that I think is an interesting state, as is the state where the body relaxes when the mind isn't. Um, but if you can bring those two together,
Mm.
then you have something really powerful. So that is the first thing. Can you relax? How quickly can you relax? And relax, not collapse. Okay, most people will hear relax as I'm going to sit on my big comfy sofa and I'm going to doom scroll or I'm going to listen to music or I'm going to watch the. That's not relax, that's collapse and distract.
All
How
right,
quick?
let's throw in an example. Don't forget what you want to say. Maybe it helps or not for the listeners. I was on moving and transporting a wash machine from the ground into the second floor, and it was a really yeah small stairway room, I would say, and I needed to hold the wash machine almost just by myself for just like a restructure the element we transported it, and it was like in the first floor or something. It was really heavy and my body wasn't relaxed at all, but I
Mhm.
could go into this kind of mind state where it was just relaxed in the mind, but the body was still just very tight. and hold that thing. And that helped me to just bypass the time span of, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh wow, so long I can take that. Wow. Was impressed. And the other way around, like stressful airports or something, your body is basically relaxed, but your mind is like, oh, okay, if I pass the security chain, whatever, or control, then just a deep breath out could help, right? It's that what you're describing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's recognizing because the scenario with the washing machine, um, what you're doing is to me, you're not having a fight with the washing machine. You're just standing there with the washing machine,
Yeah.
um, which is a more relaxed state. When you're in the queue at a security check in an airport, you know, are you just in a queue at the security check, or are you having a fight with yourself as to how am I going to do this? How am I going to, you know, there's kind of a weird, I get a weird sense of guilt when I go up to the security checks. I can feel myself going, oh no, what are they going to catch me doing? Um, and I noticing that I think is fascinating because then I can release it because I've now noticed it.
Yeah.
Um, and so we need to notice the tensions so that we can then relax back from the tensions.
Hmm.
Um, and
But
that
how
to me,
how can you or how you would describe the process of letting go when you recognized the thinking or the behavior, whatever? How can you say, okay, I let it go? How can you do that?
um, I can only speak from a personal point of view on this. Um, I kind of have to laugh at myself on regular occasions. I kind of,
Loud or quiet?
generally quietly, because otherwise people look at me funny, just suddenly sniggering for no reason. But I think that we can notice ourselves holding on to something, and we need to have a mechanism by which we can stop holding on to it so tightly.
Mm.
And for me, it's kind of laugh at myself. It's kind of, oh, John, come on, stop it. It's kind of that sense.
Okay.
Um, that works really well for the mental aspect. Not so much for the physical aspect, because physical tension uh, it's a different thing. Um, the bit that springs to mind for physical tension is uh, kind of the idea of it's kind of stand like a bear,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
take on that ability to actually, instead of standing with tension, stand with softness but immense power.
Yeah. Resonates. Hmm.
And so that works well for me, but that's probably a reflection on the situations that I find myself in, my physicality, my gender, blah blah blah. Everything means that, stand like a bear kind of makes sense to me as a technique for let go of physical tension, but allow yourself to still be strong.
Mm.
Whereas
Yeah.
other people may align with different kind of ideas in that area.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a bear looks always like, or almost always like relaxed because he's so massive and don't have to, yeah, fear something else or so. So it's just
Yeah.
wandering around very relaxed.
It's a really interesting question though, because the bear forms that come from China, you wonder how many of them are based on pandas
All right.
as opposed to the big grizzly bear or whatever it is.
Yeah, maybe because it's even more relaxed.
It could be, yeah.
The
But
Kung
yeah,
Fu Panda movie. Yeah.
but isn't it strange that as a Westerner, when we do bear form, we tend to think of, the big bears, but probably in China it was the panda.
Yeah. Maybe you should consider to take the teddy bear.
Yeah.
No, that's an interesting thing. And the same like the narrative again, right? We
Yeah.
take, we take the strong killer bear. No. Yeah, interesting. Cool.
Yeah. But it's always going to be that you need to find the image or the idea that works for you. So, you know, if the bears that you're used to are teddy bears, that might work for you. But you may find a more relevant animal to relate to, or a more relevant sense of a way of being that maintains strength, but also it embraces relaxation.
Yeah, maybe just observing an animal. I have the chance to observe horses quite, yeah, near. So it's really interesting how they relax themselves, how they stand and how they move themselves. How can see the muscles very in detail when they move. So it's really interesting how they, yeah, cool down after a run or so.
Mm.
So
Yeah, yeah, big relaxed creatures are amazing, aren't
totally like the
they? Yeah,
dinosaurs. No, not go this way.
yeah,
Um,
we're not going there.
yeah, I guess we talked about a lot of things. Nature of
Yeah,
healing. Any
yeah,
closing words from you?
we kind of bounced around all over the show there. I think if we come back to the concept of healing, I think the first, I think just to kind of revisit that one, and I'm kind of still amused by your analogy of the running the sprinting race while looking at the start line, um, and I think that just having that ability to relax that we spoke about, to enhance your awareness, approach with curiosity, and also in a more relaxed state, is a key that unlocks so much. And I think that that's yeah, to me, that's the bit that I'm kind of going, yeah, I think that's what we spoke about.
Mm.
But we probably got distracted along the way. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, and too much avoidance of judgment. But I think that's a whole nother episode about self-diagnosis, the nature of judgment, um, the negative and the potentially positive things, and all of those things. These are all aspects that sit within healthy.
Mm.
And I think we need to hold all of those quite lightly as well. And so, yeah, I think we probably need to have a chat about that another time.
Sounds like next week or even the week after. So we
See how
continue
we go.
just chatting around and publishing.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and have a good day, good night, or good morning, and see you next time.